Dodge Ram Jeep sales plummet, and CEO Tavares is gone. With sales in the tank that we're looking at the last 10 years, we've seen nothing but a massive decline. For all three of the key brands, the Stellantis means with lots and filling up day supply, over expanding a double, triple of what the industry average is, clearly sales aren't what they should be. The first half of 2024 revealed a 48% decline in net profit by Stellantis, a clear indication that buyers are just not buying the products anymore. And while CEO Tavares has some visions for the future, with an aspiration of net zero, with an expansion of the fleet and the overall lineup with a mass variety of different drivetrains, particularly ones which are heavily loaded with EVs or hybrid drivetrains, buyers have been very clear what they're looking for: reliable and cost-effective, neither of which Stellantis, in many people's opinions, have hit the mark. And Jeep products as well have seen some major decline. They peaked around 2017, 2018 when they sold the most number of products. Then we've seen a steady and slow and steady decline ever since, to the point where 2023 and down to 24 we saw it fall off a literal cliff. A lot of it has to do with the lacking of innovation, stale products, and the fact that they're largely priced out of the market for a lot of the middle class and the people, the buyers, who are actually targeted for those products in the first place. Then they started introducing turbo 4-cylinder engines, hybrid technology, and unreliable drivetrains meant people were starting to steer away from the Jeep products, and then they started to suffer. And then Dodge has been losing popularity for years, largely because the platforms are boring, stale, and lack serious innovation. They're thirsty as well as they're unreliable. And back in 2006 is when we saw Dodge reach its absolute peak. And then it started to drop from there. And then again, we start to rise, and we've seen some small popularity increases back in about 2013, at which point it peaked, and then sales start to fall off the cliff. Obviously, a lot of that had to do with a lot of their products. Their premium hot rods were bringing in a certain clientele. But even that popularity was waning, and a lot of people lost interest in that brand as a whole. Then Tavares took over, and a couple of short years ago, we literally saw Dodge sales fall off a cliff. Nobody wants them, nobody needs them, and quite frankly, if Dodge went away, nobody would miss them. And then to put a little salt on the wound, a couple major impacts. Obviously, earlier this year, we saw a 60% increase in the CEO's wage. That's right, up to $39 million is what he started to earn. And that's after 2 short years ago, where it was rejected to give the CEO an increase. Tavares now is one of the top paid CEOs in the automotive industry. Further ruffling feathers, we're seeing more by Tavares to the UAW. UAW are the striked workers, or the workers that went on strike a couple of short years ago, looking for better work environment, better pay, increased benefits, and after a short time on the picket line, they came to a conclusion. But there was other factors, like the Belvedere plant was supposed to fire up, create a more cost-effective truck, create batteries for a lot of their EVs, and generate thousands of new jobs. But unfortunately, Tavares, now a couple years later, allegedly has reneged on a lot of those agreements. UAW is up in arms, and Fain, the leader of the UAW, has nothing really positive to say about the leader of Stellantis. Now, Tavares, allegedly, a lot of people feel that we have never seen such harsh times for Stellantis. That's Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, Dodge, all these products. It's getting so desperate, in fact, that even a grandson of Chrysler himself offered up to buy the brand. Many rumors and conversations merely months and weeks ago surface where they start to suggest that a lot of these different brands are going to start to be parted out from Stellantis, break them apart, sell certain lower sales volumes type companies, like Maserati was on the chopping block, Alfa Romeo, were all names thrown out in the hat. But yet, Tavares is refusing to give in and promises that the future looks to be one of zero emissions and high innovation. Now, the CEO's contract expires in January of 2026, regardless of what happens. The real conundrum is the fact that buyers are looking for a break. They're steering away from the brand. They're looking at alternatives. They're going to GM. They're looking to Ford, and even some of the European versions that aren't necessarily under the Tavares branding. Also, people are looking European and Japanese brands because they know they can trust those. They don't know what they have with Stellantis, and they don't know what the future looks to be any of these brands in general. You don't want to buy a vehicle and then find it's obsolete a year later and you can't get service. A lot of people aren't putting the trust in these manufacturers, and sadly, with the sheer cost of these new Rams and Jeeps, nobody's buying them. Now, we know a lot of the dealers have been putting a lot of pressure on to move Tavares out of his seat and have him replaced. But the bottom line is, the way it has sitting today, it doesn't appear that anybody's going to be moving Tavares out of his seat as CEO of Stellantis before his contract expiration date of January 2026. So currently it looks like he stands strong on that position. But the unfortunate part is we don't know what the future holds. That's what the unknown is. With all these plummeting sales and the catastrophic failures in the environment that is Stellantis, it begs the question, how long can we go on? How long can this continue? And the worst part is, we don't know if he will continue on. They're actually saying, Bloomberg, after an interview, is also saying that the Stellantis chairman, John Elkann, has actually started with the new CEO replacement, possibly, but not ruling out an extension to Carlos Tavares' contract. And he, in fact, may be around a few more years if this contract is extended, if they don't find somebody to replace Carlos with. And the North American buyer, who is usually looking for the new Ram, the new Jeep product, and knows that they've been isolated, not listened to, and clearly aren't being spoken the same language, are drastically looking for change. And while many people believe that Stellantis and the background may be looking to overthrow Tavares as it sits right now, the bottom line is, rumors has it, not likely. That's very unlikely that they're going to oust this individual, the current CEO, and more likely that any of these transition plans usually involve actively start searching for your new replacement months in advance. This is not an abnormal condition, and the way it stands right now, there's strong evidence that the CEO currently, Tavares, may be on the walk-in papers at the end of January of 2026. There's also many other people in another camp that believe this is an unfortunate series of events, that Stellantis is also rebounding from the high cost to a place where people aren't buying. So now almost every manufacturer is struggling selling vehicles, not just Stellantis, and that they shouldn't be zeroed out. 2026, January, looks to be like Tavares' last day on the job.